Good evening, Dr. Salisbury. Welcome to my living room. I am excited to talk to you tonight about the assignments at hand. I know that our goal was to look at one of our neuro myths, let's say, from the proposed list, and of course, I quickly found the one relating to music as a music teacher. It is an unfortunate truth that music education requires advocacy from music teachers to remain a viable offering in the public school system. Unlike most classes, we actually have to say, hey, our class matters. And as I took this course, I've been asking myself quite often, how can understanding these learning pathways in the brain, how can understanding this help me advocate for my classroom? And in this assignment, I learned about some misunderstandings and myths that can corrupt even the most well-meaning educators in trying to advocate for themselves. In one of the articles titled Music Teachers and Students Fall for Music-Related Neuromyths, a German study, one of the pieces in the article talked about how 70% of teachers incorrectly verified the neuromyth that cognitive abilities like intelligence in children can be effectively enhanced by music education. In Carey's book, How We Learn, he talks a lot about music. Almost always anecdotally, he will say about in spaced repetition how he will go from playing a Spanish piece of music to practicing scales. He likes to say a lot about how he listens to music and plays music. But where music is impactful in the book is often in research. Where music's networking power has been shown to be effective is in setting up what I'm starting to think of as a recall environment. There's a scuba experiment cited in Carey's How We Learn, where the participants were able to recall information when in the same environment as where they learned it. So they would learn information underwater, take the test again underwater, and it would result in better recall, or I think he calls it retrieval power of the information. And the same held true in a musical example. People listening to the same music when they learned and did better on tests when they listened to the same music. The key there isn't in the music, but in the environments that the music creates. If we think of music as something that creates structure in your world, we can use that structure to recall. But this doesn't verify the claim that taking a music class makes a student smarter. Can we use these neuroscience claims as advocacy? In the article Neuroscience for Educators, What Are They Seeking and What Are They Finding? One of the findings was that teachers remarked that understanding neuroscience in general was a good method of justification for their actions in teaching and added a measure of credibility to their classroom. And this is great. I agree with this as a good practice for this neuroscience. In our discussion board conversation with Marsu, you might have seen that I hinted at our mutual growing frustration with, like, how do we use all this material in our classroom? And this article from Neuroscience for Educators suggested that on the whole, teachers recognized that the potential for translating neuroscience research into classroom practice is actually currently limited, which I kind of agree with. And it goes on to suggest that to increase their credibility with colleagues, or to maintain patience, optimism, and professionalism with their students, they would sometimes speak on aspects of neuroeducation, neuroscience, to try to further their goals in their classroom. This is what we've been doing in music education for a long time when we say music makes students smarter. We're doing the same thing that general educators are doing. Unfortunately, the science isn't there. There's an organization called the MENC. It's the National Association for Music Education. And there was a president of this organization, June Hinckley. Uh, and when she started helping teachers, music teachers, advocate for our jobs, she would say that we need to, and I'm quoting here, speak first to the audience's vested interests. That's to say, interests such as music making students smarter. This was, our largest voice for music education advocacy, telling us to spread these lies, to spread this neuromyth. And I'm going to read a direct quote here from Dr. Elpis's research. He said, "Those of us working in the public schools are facing an advocacy crisis because we do not possess collectively as a profession the tools necessary to advocate effectively on our behalf." Dr. Elpis's research also found that music students, on the average, do not outperform non-music students in standardized tests once the analysis has accounted for the systemic differences between music and non-music students. Unfortunately, again, the science just isn't there. To this end, if we're going to be good advocates for music education, we must not spread false rumors and myths about the nature of what we do. Music does not inherently make students smarter. That's not to suggest it doesn't have an incredible impact on our students. In the realms of emotional literacy and moral character, we can fight for our programs, and we can also fight aesthetically for music's sake, as long as we stop perpetuating the myths. And there's more than just the one I picked for this project that are perpetuated about music and the brain. I think we will be on a better footing to advocate for our programs. Thank you very much, and good night.